But what about also the Bank of England question? Because of course our next guest is probably going to be watching that as well, keeping a track of all those markets. Pete McGuire from XM joining us on the program. Pete, it's good to go and see you there. I've got to go and kick off with the Fed. All roads lead back to the Federal Reserve tonight. We know that tapering is likely to go and take place, but where could the surprise potentially be?
Well, David, I think, you summarise it fairly well at 120 billion and you're looking at possibly a 15 billion haircut. Also the outlier, maybe they've got the job numbers through already and they were very, very soft, as you know, for October or for September, I should say. So let's just see where they go for on Friday night. And that, I think, is the main issue at the moment. The sensitivity to the employment market in the US and how quickly the taper does wind back. We all understand the inflation story and all of those moving parts and the hurt going across the wallet and the purse, both domestically in the States and everywhere else across the world.
So what are we looking for from this particular meeting when it comes to market movements? Because traditionally what we're seeing in the past, that when the Federal Reserve started tapering last time, we saw a big flattening of the curve. So longer and interest rates started to go and come down, flattening that curve out. What about the US dollar? Because all roads lead back to the dollar when it comes to so many different things, including the Aussie dollar here.
Absolutely, David. We're at 94.06, that US dollar index. So for all the traders, they need to be conscious of that. It's had a little bit of a bounce to the upside, and that maybe a little bit further in there. There might be a 94.5 at the top end. It's hard to put a number on it as far as a forecast, but it's certainly going to be choppy. I think there's a bit more further updraft. Where it plays naturally as far as against the euro and a couple of the other currencies, we're fairly flat in that, where our range is still in that 74.4 sort of number for the Aussie. So bond yields, think about what I'm interested in to hear the rhetoric. I'm concerned where Yellen's thoughts were. I heard, a little while back, she's thinking inflation's going to run till at least the end of 22. So that transitory, I suppose, storyline, David, is one that's very much worrying. How long do we embrace that high inflation rate? And maybe it's going to be here longer than what we anticipated.
I've got to ask you from a technical perspective how the US stock market's looking, because it's just managing to go and push everything to the side at the moment. Is this the kind of risk event that could go and potentially start to go and see a bit of weakness creep in?
Well, David, it's been onward and upward. We all understand it's been driven by very cheap money. It's been an extraordinary growth across that US equity market, and most of the markets in the world have had tremendous moves to the upside. So you would think there does hit an exhaustion point. I don't know where it's going to be. I mean, you can't say, well, hand on heart, and then all of a sudden the Nasdaq puts another 1,000 on and the Dow goes up another 4 or 5% by Christmas. I'm not sure. So let's just wait and see. But I think traders have got to be very conscious. If you're long, then you need to be looking at hedging your positions, and anyone wise in the industry that wants to trade needs to be concerned as far as washouts or certainly pullbacks. And that is just being prudent, David. So that's all about risk management and understanding your risk profile, and what turns a trader on at 18 would be a different environment to someone at 80.
It's been lost in the noise a little bit with the Fed meeting, but the Bank of England, of course, will also be out in just over 24 hours' time. There's lots of speculation. Potentially we could go and see rate hikes occur at this meeting. Now, for a trader, surely that's going to offer some opportunities.
Absolutely, David. So a push up to the upside as far as that pound. I think it's been sold off. There's movement to the upside, that possibility. The other thing is, how many rate rises are we going to experience across that Bank of England in 2022? They say there could be 3 in over the year, and yes, we could get one as soon as down the next 24 hours, or certainly within the next month. So that really, many traders are holding the wheel fairly tight and waiting for that announcement. And then what impact does that have over the Northern Hemisphere winter as far as supply chain issues, energy costs across the UK, and naturally a winter coming out of the COVID environment, and what impact that's going to have to the economies such as Europe and to the UK economy?
You mentioned what's going on in energy markets. Of course, all eyes on OPEC Plus as well. The trifecta of risk events on Thursday. 400,000 decrease per day as expected this month, as we've seen in previous months. What about the commentary about next year? Because economic conditions seem to be picking up in some of those advanced economies, but then you look at what's going on in China at the moment and it looks a bit soft. Sure. So what about OPEC Plus? What are the expectations around there?
Well, David, the issue is they've got to be rubbing their hands with glee as far as an $83, $85 handle. And there are many traders out there, and certainly big-time analysts, being the banks and so on, that are saying it's $100 crude, quite possible by Christmas. And a number of key analysts across the globe are saying that their target's going to be $121 a barrel. So we're a long way shy of that. And so that upward momentum, there's the first side. The second side is there's some supply issues as far as production. The Venezuela's, Angola, Nigeria, Libya, to name a few. Though the big elephants, being Saudis and the Russians, I think that they'll contain and they'll naturally do what they have to do to meet the demand picture. We all understand as far as flights and what's happening globally with the reintroduction of travel and the demand side, that is going to put, I think, additional demand on what those, those key forecasts are going to be for 2022. So they could shoot the lights out there, David. So I think it's going to be a push up for price. They'll map through everything as far as what they're requiring from production, and it's probably long crude.
Long crude, because I'm intrigued about that tipping point where the price becomes restrictive on economic activity, because that's clearly not what we need in an environment where we're trying to come out of a recession. But really key to see what the OPEC Plus has to say in about 24 hours time or so. I want to go and ask about what's going on in also those commodity complex and the commodity currencies out there at the moment, because last night there was a massive reversal in the Aussie dollar. The Kiwi was also dragged lower. What's going on there? Because we're seeing that there was a big rally and all of a sudden that reversal. Is this the start of a longer trend?
Well, I'm not suggesting it's a longer trend, David. We had a nice push up also as far as that US dollar. So you've got to see that side of it. And it was probably just to the point of exhausted to the upside. It was overbought. The choppiness came through and then all of a sudden sold off. So that's not unusual in, a market like the currency markets. And it happens violently sometimes during the week that we see those big moves of 1% or so. And I think that anyone that's trading these markets realizes, and for the traders that haven't embraced currency markets, they run 24 hours a day and there's no sleep time until you hit Saturday morning in Sydney. So they are highly liquid, highly volatile, and there are many different frameworks, economic news stories that come out over that business week, David, that can really change price and central banks' interventions and many other key points that I think, are taken on board.
We've gone around the grounds. Let's go and finish off. At the moment, when it comes to a trading opportunity out there, what's a real one that's burning at the front of mind at the moment that looks pretty good?
Well, I think the number of those base metals have actually come back in value. So if you're looking at copper, so if you have a close eye naturally on the base metals, I still believe that the gold and silver story has got time to run. I can't say when, but I think that the overall the issues as far as rate rises, the issues as far as possible stagflation stories, the unsettling big picture theme as far as Evergrande. So the precious metals side, I think it will shine in 22. Keep a close eye, as I mentioned earlier, as far as energy prices. If they're currently at 83, 84, and the big banks and the big analysts are saying it's 100 to 120 handle, David, then I think there's upside for energy.
You would imagine so. Look, always fantastic to go and get your views. Pete, take care, and we'll speak soon.
Good to see you, David. Thank you very much.